I'm Angela Kennecke. Welcome to this week's podcast of Grieving Out Loud. After I first lost my daughter Emily to an overdose in 2018, I was looking around for some kind of support. It seemed like I was the only person in the world who had ever lost a child to overdose, and we all know now that that's far from the case, unfortunately. But I didn't know really where to turn, and somehow on Facebook, I don't remember exactly how it was because so much is fuzzy from that time of grief, of extreme trauma, but I found the Facebook group #NotInVain. And while I'm grieving out loud on this podcast, I am joined by nearly 5,000 mothers in this group who have lost a child in the drug epidemic. Some have lost more than one child. But there's so much support within this group for other moms. We all know what the other one is going through. And it was all started by a mom who has 2 daughters who suffered from addiction. She lost one of them to an overdose. PJ Champion Sally started the Facebook group #NotInVain by accident.
What prompted you to start a Facebook group called #NotInVain?
Well, crazy as it may seem, it was kind of an accident. But we know that there's no accidents in God's providence, right? And I was actually sitting and I was reading a verse about beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that we might be his righteousness. And it's Isaiah 61:3, I believe. And I was just sitting there reading that, and I got a instant message from one of my fellow moms that I had met through Christina's obituary. And then we hooked up with another mom, and the 3 of us were doing an instant message chat. And as you know, especially early on in grief, you do not laugh very much. The 3 of us got memeing each other using memes on this instant message thread. And we were just laughing hysterically. And we're like, nobody would even believe us, you know, if they saw us. Anybody that know us, close to us, family members, best friends, would be like, what? And I just, you know, we got talking, and one of the gals said, this is so much fun. We should add some more girls to this thread. And I said, that is a great idea. And I had known probably about 40 moms by this point. I was 5 months along in my loss. And I knew about 40 moms that I had met because her obituary had gone viral. And so it really got out there. So I got to, you know, connect with quite a few moms. So I started with the 40 moms, and I was adding them, I thought, to this instant message thread, as you got to see beforehand how technologically adept I am. And so I'm on my computer, and I had been on my computer at the same time I was trying to do this instant message, and somehow I clicked something and created a Facebook page. And looking back now, you know, I know that was totally the Holy Spirit, because I knew nothing. When I told my daughter, my living daughter, my surviving daughter, that I'd created this page, she said, there is no way. Who helped you? Who helped? I said, nobody.
I'm laughing because I think it's funny you unintentionally created a Facebook group.
Unintentionally. And everybody, we've even said that when we've gone on our yearly retreats, you know, when we've told the news media that it was a mistake. I mean, you know, I'd love to sit here and say by my great intelligence and suaveity, I created this wonderful page, but no, the Lord knew that I probably wouldn't do it unless it was an accident, you know.
Wow.
So,
that's an amazing story. And you've grown from those 40 women to 4,800, nearly 5,000 women right now.
Yes.
Moms. Oh my. And to the need out there is, and I'm sure it's a Facebook group you just as soon shut down if you could, right? That there were no more of these overdose deaths.
Well, when I started it, I just assumed we'd have maybe 100 of us in a year's time. And we were, you know, a nice, close little knit group. And this would be so cute to have. And and we'd love on each other, and it just blows my mind how it took off, and how it grew. And so this will be October 24th of this year will be 3 years for our group.
Wow. So your loss is relatively fresh then too. Can you talk about the child that you lost?
Yes. I actually had both my daughters, Christina and Ashley, were both using at the same time. And I was a single mom. I was trying to run a business. I was a partner in a business. And at first, when it happens to you, it's so much more well known now, that the pandemic, it's so much more well known than it was in 2017. I was still trying to hide it, cover up. I didn't want people to know.
That your daughters were suffering from substance use disorder.
I thought I was going to be able to try to help them, but
How old were your girls at the time?
Well, when they were doing just Oxycontin pills before they got into the harder stuff, that was young. Christina was 16 when she was doing those. And then Ashley was maybe 19 or 20 when she started. I think 19 maybe.
Did you wonder why they did this? I mean, have you asked yourself that a lot? Maybe you got some answers from your other daughter now who's been in recovery.
They really don't know either. Christina just did not feel loved, even though she was greatly loved, not just by me, but I mean, she had her own daughter. Ashley had a son that I'm raising. Both of those children now. I've adopted them, and their kids loved them extremely. My parents loved them. They had friends that loved them, but they did not feel that love. They were brought up in a great Christian school, great church, but different things occurred along the way, different people that they ran into that definitely took their path a different way. And I mean, they were good kids growing up. Not better kids growing up could I have had, but once they hit those teen years, wow.
That's same with me. Emily was amazing kid. I mean, just incredible. But when she hit those teen years, it was like a light switch went on, and it was just, she was completely different and changed and was doing all these things that I just couldn't figure out where that was coming from.
Your influence over Emily then changes because they're looking for their their self-esteem and their approval anywhere but home.
That's so true.
You don't know much anymore.
That is so true.
Once they figure out, they think they know everything, you don't know much.
Right. And I think as mothers, we often take so much of the blame or the guilt, and you see that on this Facebook page, hashtag not in vain. And we think somehow we're more powerful than we really are. And you hear oh, if a kid turned out good, they must have really good parents. But if a kid becomes addicted to heroin or opioids or whatever, then, geez, what did their mother do? Yeah.
And I mean, I was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
Who is? Yeah.
But if I had to go back and do it all over again, are there things that I would do differently? Yeah. The main thing I notice as a theme on our page is moms that we did too much maybe for our kids. We helped too much on projects. We helped too much, with talking maybe to the teachers, with always swooping in and trying to save them and not even allowing them to make mistakes when they were younger the way that we should have. That is the one common theme I notice on the page that we've all done.
As helicopter parents you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. That's
a lot of that.
Yeah.
When people ask me, is there one thing? That's the one thing, because you've got moms that have 4 kids and, they've lost 2 to the epidemic. We've got probably over 150 moms on the page that have lost 2 children to this. We've got 2 moms that have lost 3. we've got another mom, Carol Morris, that has lost 5 of her 12 children to this.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And I bet you really, you could have lost both of your girls. You could have.
Oh, yes. In fact, I really, the time right before, the Lord there was something on me. I knew I was going to lose one of them. I didn't know which one at first. And I thought it was going to be Ashley because she was actually worse at the time, but then they flipped. And then when Christina overdosed the last time, I knew then. And then her daughter and I were both having dreams for 2 weeks prior. And I didn't tell her daughter that I was, but I knew she was. And that's how I knew that was definitely going to happen. But
my daughter,
you can't prepare.
No, my daughter, Emily's sister, had a dream the night that Emily died that I'll never forget. She told me about, how would you have such a dream, right? It's just, it's eerie, I guess. Tell me about Christina and what happened.
She got involved. The biggest thing was after the pills is she got involved with a boyfriend, and that ended up being the thing that took her down. He got her involved in a life of crime, teaching her how to steal from homes. Then it got to be, in and out of jail, with stores because they were trying to get money for the habit. And so he was definitely, I attribute that to him pulling her in. Not that I don't know that another wonderful Prince Charming could have come along and not done the same thing, but that's who took her down.
Yeah.
He broke into my house, and there were so many situations that from the point of him pulling her through the glass through the window, and she still had those scars when she passed on her neck, and threatening to kill our whole family because I had Ashley, both the kids, and Christina were all living in my house for almost a year, all of us together. Yeah.
I didn't, I guess it wasn't quite as a violent situation, but Emily had gotten involved with a boyfriend at the age of 16 who was very heavily into drugs and had really taught her and taken her down that road. Although I think each person does have personal responsibility, right? But when you think you're in love, but also had, injured her quite severely at one point that I found out about, later after the fact. And it's how, do you feel bitter toward that boyfriend?
I do. And
I know you're Christian, so I know you're Christian. We've talked about that. Yeah. So where is the forgiveness?
But you got to be real. You have to. People can say everybody's different, but to me, if I don't forgive, then I'm not a follower of Christ, because that's what he asks of us.
Have you forgiven?
I have, but there's days that I have to. Most days that I have to forgive him every day, sometimes a few times a day. It's not a one-time thing. The Lord knows that in my heart, because you can't forget those things, especially when you've got a granddaughter, that it cries before she goes to bed at night about her mom, about her dad, about her whole situation, and it brings it all right to the forefront again. So you have to. Christina died in his cousin's home. His cousin put her up. His cousin had a warrant out for his arrest and told his girlfriend in the home to wait to call an ambulance for Christina until he got far enough away. This same cousin, 6 weeks prior, was saved by CPR by my daughter.
I don't even know what to say. The Good Samaritan laws that are out there, it's just, this didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen.
Yep, it didn't need to, but I had to keep telling myself, because, everybody kept saying, aren't you going after him? I had 2 little kids to raise. I had a business that was falling apart. I was falling apart. I had so much on my plate. I had to make a decision. And he wasn't a big wig. in the chain of dealers. Had he been a big wig in the chain of dealers, I might have had to rethink my position. But he wasn't. He was just another kid like my daughter, who I am sure my own daughter had offered and sold drugs for her habit before, once she'd gotten addiction and was stuck. She would have never, this is a girl hated needles. I mean, she just, same as yours, Emily.
Yeah, exactly the same. Emily ran out of the doctor's office at age 10 screaming because they were going to take a little bit of blood with, a needle. And I would never have guessed that she would use needles ever.
Yes.
So how old was Christina when she died?
24 forever. Yes.
And that was in
forever.
2017.
That was 2017. And her daughter was 7 at the time. And that was the second hardest thing in my life to deal with, besides my daughter's passing, was breaking the news to my granddaughter. That was...
Because it wasn't like she was a baby. I mean, she's 7 years old. She can understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have never lied to my grandkids. I've never gone into details about stuff with them, but I've never lied to them from the beginning. And, the first thing they said when they came to live with me was, Nima, thank you so much for not lying to us. We know that other people were lying to us, and I never lied to them about what was going on. I just explained it to them in a way they could understand at that point.
So why did you call the Facebook group #NotInVain?
That is from the very beginning, when we started the obituary to when my local paper, Toledo Blade, interviewed me, to when she got in the centerfold of People magazine. Everything, when I was looking at it, every time I was saying not in vain. When I was talking, that her death will not be in vain, that her legacy will not be in vain. And I had told her, when she passed, she kept saying, well, you can't do this if I die. You can't. I said, hey, you leave me, everything's off the table. I will do everything in my power not to have another mom experience this. So every single detail of your life will be exploited. If I have to take out a big billboard, it will be out there.
It's funny you say that, because I often feel that Emily would not have liked me being so public with her story. And she was a little bit more of a private person, and she probably, and I'm a very public person, as you know, and she probably wouldn't have liked everything that I'm doing. But I really feel like I have to find a meaning in a meaningless death, and that I have to put purpose to this. Just as you said, it's not in vain. We are trying to raise awareness, bring attention to the opioid epidemic so that we can end it, so that we don't have 5,000 moms on a Facebook page grieving together. And you're not the only Facebook page out there either. So there's a lot more than 5,000 moms grieving out there. Yes,
there's a lot more. And there's a lot more that aren't on our page, that aren't even on there. I'm shocked at how many mothers come join us every day. We have 11 countries. We're in 11 different countries, mainly the US.
And so what do you think is the best thing about the page and the worst thing about the page?
The best thing of the page is these moms don't feel alone. That's huge. As well as when I went on, there were a few, I would say 2 or 3, I think at the time, grief pages for moms, but they weren't uplifting to me. I felt worse after getting on them. I needed to know there was hope. I needed to have resources. I needed to know what books I could read. I needed to know maybe some thought patterns I could break. I needed tools. I needed coping mechanisms,
well, exactly.
Just like our kids did.
I always say that those first early stages, you're looking for relief, but there really is no relief, right? But you're looking for what will help me feel better. I mean, it's not in a bottle, and it's not in a pill, and sometimes it's in a book, and sometimes it's not. But I just think we're just looking what do I do? What do I do now? How do I cope with this? And you don't know how. You don't have any tools to do it.
No, and I really believe, like you said, there had to be a purpose for your pain there. if you don't find your purpose, because when your child dies, you didn't die. You're still here. And as much as a lot of the moms still wish they were, and I'd say more of our moms are more of the absolutely struggling to get out of bed every day than are the fighter warrior moms. Now, if you stay on the page, if you do some of the things that we give you, if you come to the retreats, if you go to a local meeting, if you do those things, you will become one of the warrior moms, even if it's not your personality type. You know, yeah, I understand there's personality types and it might be easier for some than others, but you would not believe some of the personality types that are now warrior women that are totally opposite. You know, they're little meek wallflowers, and they've come into their own, and they each could tell their own story of how, you know, they have gone from totally going inside and only seeing themselves and their pain and the dark out into seeing color again, because they started looking to serve others. That is so key. That is so key. You know, when you can get your eyes off yourself and onto how you can help other people through this thing.
That's what I always say. The whole reason that I'm doing this is to serve others, because it takes the focus off of my own pain and it makes me feel better. Yes. I mean, truly, like, that's why I do this podcast, you know, on my own time. Nobody's, you know, paying me to do this podcast or write the blogs or any of these things. I have a day job that pays the bills, but I do all of this charity work just so that another family doesn't have to go through what we've been through. And I think that's, you know, you're offering comfort and support to those who have been exactly where you and I
constantly. We have a local meeting here. I have probably about 154 women just from, I would say, an hour and a half. A few of them are 2-hour radius that are invited to our local meetings every month. And we, you know, some can come one month, some can come the other. We have a group of us that go to funerals. We had like 6 funerals within 5 weeks. Right before the pandemic. I was getting worn out. And we go to these moms, we take them a little gift. We take them our little "You Are Not Alone," not in vain bracelet, and put it on their wrists and let them know they're not alone. And they grab a hold of us and hug us like
I love that.
We have been family their whole life. I can't believe you came. I can't believe you know, I mean, because they know we get it, you know.
Right. And you do feel very alone when this happens. When it first happens in your family, you feel like this is the only, like, you're somehow have this black mark on you or something like this. You're the only person this has happened to. Clearly that's not true.
And it doesn't really go away. The black mark does not go away. You still feel like that. You just feel like they're just not saying maybe things to your face, where in the beginning they would say, well, you really need to do that. You know, now they don't say that anymore. You just feel like this, maybe they're looking at you like this pity thing or something, or that poor woman.
Pity. Yeah. None of us want to be pitied. That's for sure.
Oh God, no. That's the worst.
But I would say you going to funerals with these other moms is amazing, because I have a really hard time at funerals. So you are really doing something, you know, that can be difficult for you to do, because that brings back all the memories and all of the trauma, and you're putting yourself out there to help another human being, even though it's hard to do.
Yes. Well, I tell my girls that do go with me, I say, you take your heart and you take it out and you put it in the glove compartment, okay? And then you ask the Lord to allow you to focus just on this mom. You only have to do it. We're only in there for probably 20 to 25 minutes tops, you know. And then when we come back out in the car, if you need to cry, if you need, you know, or if you want to wait till you get home to do that, then you can do that. But this is for that mom, and she needs every bit of love and spiritual healing we can be sending her when we're in there. We need to be a clean conduit straight to that mom's heart. And it seems to work. And so many moms that, like, I have one mom, she's so precious, Grace, and she came to one and she goes, I just can't do it. And then she couldn't go in. And it took her probably maybe 3 more funerals. She says, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready. And she went in and she was like, wow, this is so wonderful, and it's wonderful that because you get out of yourself and you're helping someone else and you feel like you have met a purpose straight from the Lord.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the one thing about the website, the Facebook page that I have noticed is sometimes there are some moms and there's a lot of positivity and there's a lot of caring. I want to preface it with that. But there are some moms that seem a little stuck in depression, and that those posts are difficult to read.
Very, especially when you're doing them every day, like some of it, like the moderators. I could not run this page without especially a couple of my administrators. There's just no way. And some of my moderators that are phenomenal. I mean, oh my goodness. But we've got some that are just every day, every single day there supporting. And like you say, some of these moms just stay stuck. They don't want to look at the alternative. You've heard that old saying, misery loves company. I think they feel like they're being disloyal to their child if they start to move out of their grief. And their grief has now become their addiction, just like the drugs were to our kids. They are addicted to that grief. And I see mamas on this page that have been on here for a while and that should be to a certain point, and they're not. But we love them just the same, just like you do in your family members, that you have some family members that can't seem to mature out of an area that, is hard for them. We still love those moms. We try to be there and support them. And every once in a while, somebody that's been doing it, wow, now I get it. And it's 2.5 years that they've been on the page and they're finally getting it. Some of us are just slower learners than others,
How'd you get to be so wise?
Oh boy. I don't know. Some people that really know me might question that.
Well, I think it's fascinating. You really do understand this so well and what's going on with people that are on your page. And the way you explain it, I think is just right on, right on.
I mean, I do it so much. So a lot of it is just the experience and being around the moms a lot and learning. But we don't ever become truly good at anything. We don't become spiritual at anything unless, you can wish it, you can want it to be good. Honestly, I'd rather be totally ignorant on this subject, to tell you the truth.
We all would. Yeah.
But you have to undertake something so great that you can't accomplish it unaided. And I could not accomplish this in the beginning unaided without him, for sure, and still without the Lord. There's no way. He the miraculous things that he performs on a daily basis, there's just no way about it. And we, the moderators, we will take things and we'll go, oh, how are we going to fix this? And then we'll throw our limited, knowledge and experiences thing together and put it out there, and all of a sudden it glows. And we know that that's the touch of our master that is finalizing. It's not us. It's just that we're willing to be used by him for this situation. I mean, God used a donkey with Balaam, and he's hard up for people to do his work.
I really admire your very strong faith. Was it ever tested with what your daughters went through and with Christina's death? Did you ever feel abandoned by God?
I was asked that a lot when I came to the page, when we started this page. I think because I had been building my faith from about 21 on. Not that I didn't have a couple, little things in there where I'm wondering what's going on, but I've never doubted him. Never. Now, in saying that, after I created the page and I'm working with all these women that did doubt God, that totally gave up on him, that were angry at him, that didn't want to talk with him anymore, those type. And here we are, a faith-based page, I am going to God saying, listen, I got to be able to know how to reach these women. You don't ever pray for something you're not ready for. And he ended up, we had a big thing going. We had a big blitz going. Every mom was sharing their page to Terror Bears, drug-induced homicide, and to our page. And they were doing a lot of it even on my personal page. And they were sharing all our kids' pictures. Well, we were sending them all to the President Trump at the time. Well, we ended up, Facebook put me in Facebook jail for 3 months almost. It was almost 3 months to the day. And they said I was doing, and we had mamas writing Facebook. We had me writing Facebook.
Why were you in trouble?
We still don't know. They gave me some little blob. I'm trying to remember what it said. Something about the increased activity on your page.
Like that you were a spam, or you were something like that?
Yeah, like I was abusing my privileges. And it's crazy because no one else doing this, but because my page was used the most for this, it somehow alerted their, red alert there. Mm-hmm. And even though, they had almost 3 months to check this out. And with all the other mamas sending them messages, but during that time, I was at such, because Ashley had overdosed. She had tried to commit suicide. And I was still dealing with, of course, Christina's death. I was adopting both, the children, in the process of doing 2 separate adoptions because of 2 separate moms, and caring for them. And this all hit. And I had no support. I went from full support and supporting, I felt like I had abandoned my baby at a doorstep, and so my way of healing was gone. So I just had to be alone, one-on-one with him. And so the anger came over the fact that, you know what? You asked me to do this, and this is how this is what you do to me, So even though I was all spiritual about the death, about all the drugs, the adopting, the everything else that was hitting me, I was just all spiritual for that. But here this comes, kind of like, I think of when, in the Bible where he goes under the tree and he says, I don't have anything to eat. I don't have any shade. I'm going to die. That is something that hit me like that, because now this was like, this had gotten to be, I guess, in a sense, my God, was the page. You know what I'm saying?
But it also made you understand that feeling
of
anger.
I finally understood why they could get angry at him. And so then that changed everything for me, because when you're ministering to people, you have to go through so much. If you're going to help people that had cancer, guess what? You had to go through cancer. If you really are going to help somebody, you have to go through it. And so that's what he taught. He says, well, you've been through this, you've been through that, you've been through just about everything. You got to go through being upset with me now.
I have a question. How's Ashley doing?
She's doing really good. She actually is part of the film called One that has won film festival awards right now, and that is out on Amazon. It is phenomenal. It's like no other thing on the drug epidemic that's out there. It's a beautiful, beautiful film, and it is a heart-wrenching film. And I highly recommend that.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
So tell me about the book, Not in Vain.
The book, Not in Vain, just came out for pre-sale on Amazon. And you can, if you don't have Kindle, you can still see it on your phone. And then sometime probably about Halloween or so, they're going to come out with the hardcover soon.
So
this hardcover, I should say.
Was this your idea? This is compiling all of them?
No, I wanted to do a book. I'd wanted to, but I had too many balls in the air. And then Bobby Zemer got a hold of me, and Kathy Williams and Tina.
They were all on the page, all members, right?
Yes, we are. Well, they're all administrators. Tina Stevenson Bach and
but it was all
Kathy
people
Williams
who are
and I.
part of the page. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Bobby is one of our members, and she's phenomenal. And she went through, a lot. I mean, a whole lot in her. So she was at a point to where she was healing. She had come to the last retreat, and she had gotten a little bit of time off work, and she said, you know what? This is something that I've had laid on my heart, and I really want to do this. I want to get started. And she shared her, vision. I'm like, this is great. Let's do it.
And what the book does is take members' stories and tells what happened to their child. And
yeah, there's 165, I believe, stories on there. We aren't it's just not each one of our stories, but we also share tips with moms of things to look for, of how to, cope. There's little verses in there and little quips. It's really, it's not, it's eye-opening, but it's also inviting too.
Ultimately, where do you hope the Facebook page and the book and everything else, where do you hope that leads? Or what else are you hoping to accomplish?
Well, we have also, we are the healing end of things. Our page is more for healing and getting them into going out, because so many of our moms, since being on the page, have had bills passed, legislation gone through, have their own recovery homes that they are running, have their foundations that are running. We have a lot of moms that we've even helped with their children, getting them into recovery. We are starting up another thing any day now. We're putting on the page that a lot of the money that we just raised from our t-shirt sales and our hats are going towards the children on our page, of the moms that are raising these children from the drug epidemic. And we're going to be
so
giving them Christmas.
Grandparents or aunts or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Sisters, brothers.
They don't have money to provide a good Christmas for their children. So we're going to be doing that. We have just a lot in store that we're doing. We're wanting to do a major walk, but we're holding off. We want to see who obviously gets into office. And we will be all trying to gather together. If you've ever
on the mall in Washington, D.C., all parents who've lost kids. Oh, that would be a powerful statement. Yes. I love that idea. Let me know how I can help.
I will.
Well, I love your energy, and I love everything that you're doing to help other moms. I think that's just, you're like a saint. It's wonderful.
And when you ask me what I see, basically when I think of it, there was a mom that just wrote me a beautiful thank you. And it was almost too much, like you're so humbled by some of these moms that just love you so much. But this mom in particular said something to me that, I don't do this for money, that's for sure. You know that, because you don't do it. But when she said, I want to be like you, I want to be able to heal other people the way you've helped heal me. And that is it. The Bible says, comfort others with the same comfort that we've received of him. And that is what, to me, it all is. I want to bring these mamas to a relationship with him, and then I want to see them moving out into their own self, not to make their name known, but to glorify our Father, and to make a difference in this pandemic and in the world.
Yeah, that's all we can really do to take our grief and make it productive, is to make a difference. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me today. I just really appreciate you sharing your story and everything you're doing with the Facebook group, #NotInVain. We will put some information on this podcast in the show notes details, where you can take a link and learn more about it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Angela.
Thank you for joining us. For resources for families and how to get help, just go to Emily's Hope at paintingapathttorecovery.org. If you found this podcast helpful, please consider giving us a positive review. Thank you.